Hello and welcome to the Get Local podcast. I'm so excited that you've decided to join us today. And I have a special guest on our Get Local podcast, another one of those hidden gems that I talk to you guys about all the time, right here in our very own area. So I would like to welcome to the studio this morning and to our podcast, Diana Hamilton. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Well, Diana is obviously a woman-owned business, and we're excited to have her here. Each distribution that is out there has their own struggles, and I think sometimes as women, we are kind of rising in the rank of women-owned businesses, but sometimes we do have those challenges out there. And one of the biggest challenges I think our small businesses have is getting the word out about who we are and what we do.
Exactly.
So thank you again for reaching out to us. I know our listeners are going to enjoy our interview today. So tell me a little bit. The name of your company is the Hamilton Household.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your company.
Yeah, so I am the Hamilton household. I have a husband and an 18-month-old son, and I am pregnant currently with another baby boy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just really wanted to make a business geared towards non-toxic living. When I got pregnant with my son, it was, I fell down a rabbit hole of just everything that was in the house. There was chemicals in the cleaning supplies. There was artificial fragrance and literally everything that I was using. And I kind of fell down a rabbit hole of this non-toxic crunchy lifestyle. There's like a whole crunchy mom community that is trying to live as non-toxic as possible. So I really wanted to start creating products to help people kind of dive into that lifestyle, or even just replace a candle every once in a while. And really, that's really my goal of this whole thing.
So are there, you call it a crunchy lifestyle. So are there a lot of people out there who produce these type of products, or is it a small community that's kind of doing it?
So I don't know. Honestly, it is a pretty small community, but in Greenville, I found that there's a lot of resources for this community, and it's growing and growing and growing. There's a few Facebook groups that I'm a part of, local and non-local, that are of these moms who are, they have a homestead, or they have, small businesses that are geared towards non-toxic products, not necessarily exactly what I'm doing, but similar. They're, making body products that are not filled with all the bad ingredients that you would see in a drugstore makeup product. And it's really helping people open their eyes to what they're actually using. And if you look at the ingredients on anything that, you have at home, sometimes I still do it. And I'm like, what? Why does my toothpaste have blue dye in it?
Right.
I had no idea until a few days ago even. So it's just really opening our eyes, and there's a lot of people. It is really growing.
So did you move into this new lifestyle because of a health issue, or did you just one day say, I'm going to have children and I'm concerned about what's going into their bodies, whether it's being ingested or, a lotion that's rubbed onto them? I mean, what kind of led you down that path?
It was really getting pregnant and researching. I was just going to a regular OBGYN, and I started reading books about my different options. And so I decided to switch to a midwife kind of really late in pregnancy. And that really started it all.
Wow.
Doing the natural labor and delivery, that was the point at which I was doing more research and, getting more into the community and joining these groups and being like, hey, I've never done this before. I'm a first-time mom. Like, can you give me advice on this? But being a part of those groups, I saw more and more posts about, red dye and just food dye in general. And so that led me to more research, and it led me to where I am today. So that's been amazing.
So tell me a little bit about the products that you sell on your website, because you create all these products from scratch, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I have 3 simmer pots. So do you know what a simmer pot is?
I do, but for our audience, let's explain it just in case they do not.
Yes. So a simmer pot is essentially a non-toxic replacement to a candle. It is some ingredients, usually some fruit and spices that you put on the stove and you boil, and it really just makes the house smell amazing without all the artificial fragrance and everything like that. I also I launched a product that was a multi-purpose cleaner made out of just pine, vinegar, and rubbing alcohol. And
Wow.
it's a natural disinfectant because of the properties in pine. And I made that after last Christmas because
Oh,
everybody was throwing away their Christmas trees, and I was like, I will take them. I,
oh,
and so I
wow.
recycled the Christmas trees that people were getting, and that's been great too. I use it every day. They're all products that I use all the time. I have the 3 scents. I have orange cinnamon, apple harvest, and pumpkin spice latte, which was
Oh,
really
that
fun.
sounds
It
wonderful.
is delicious smelling, and I'm personally allergic to pumpkin, but I love the smell of
Oh.
the pumpkin spice latte season. So that's a great one too. But those are my products for now, but I have some in the works to launch a few more in the next couple of months.
So you do the simmer pots and then you do the cleaning. Do you only have the one cleaning product?
Yes, for now, I took a pretty long break after last season. It just took all of me. I mean, I was pretty much just kind of forced into the business on
Oh,
so I really like I didn't know what to do. I was so overwhelmed.
wow.
So I took a break and now I'm launching back into it and really taking this seriously since my son is old enough for me to, let him do what he needs to do. And I'm hopefully gonna put out a few new products before this baby gets here. So that'll be fun for sure.
That's cool. I'm glad that Get Local gets to be a part of you relaunching your business. And sometimes you have to do that, whether it's family challenges that come
Mhm.
along or, you just have to say, this is bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Exactly.
Let's take a step back. As solopreneurs, you really have everything on your plate,
Mhm.
from the advertising, the packaging, the production, putting it all together, coming up with the new ideas. And
Mhm.
so it's very easy, especially as a mom,
Mhm.
to get overwhelmed with all of that. So congratulations on launching it back out again. As a matter of fact, I
Thank
know I
you.
had asked you to bring some supplies. And what'd you tell me?
It is completely sold out. I am making everything in my dehydrator. So I dehydrate the fruits and the pumpkin, and it is just constantly running 24/7. I am selling out constantly. I'm making orders and orders and orders, and it's very fun. I love it. It's turned into a business, but it was a hobby,
Mm.
and it's been amazing. So, I mean, I'm so glad to be sold out almost all the time.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Well, congratulations on that, Diana.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. So, what about as far as people you sell to? Who are your typical people who are looking to buy your product? Like, if our listeners are listening today, who should pick up the phone and call you right now?
Really, anybody and anybody. I find a lot of people in the crunchy community and not, honestly, it's people who are curious about,
Hmm.
oh, what's a simmer pot? I find a lot of moms who are giving my products to their kids' teachers as end of the
As
year
gifts,
gifts, yes,
yeah.
and real estate agents who give my simmer pots to a client who just bought a house for the first time,
Mm.
and that's a housewarming gift, or just stocking stuffers for family. Or I've had people order for just themselves and
Mm.
they just want some simmer pots on hand. And it's really a whole broad spectrum of people that are buying my products.
So, if I wanted to find a simmer pot, is it typically a small community of people who sell those? I mean, do you have to kind of Google it, search you out, or are you finding them on every street corner?
So you really, there's only a few people on Etsy necessarily that sell the simmer pot kits. It is a little bit competitive on Etsy, but
Hmm.
locally, I think I'm the only one who sells them.
Hmm.
But a lot of people do make simmer pots themselves. It's
Hmm.
just easier to buy the kit sometimes when you're trying to gift it to family because it's shelf stable because of the dehydrated apples and oranges.
Hmm.
So it's easier to give as a gift in a kit, and not everybody has a dehydrator. I mean, you could give somebody a kit with a whole orange or a whole apple, but that's also gonna spoil at some point.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people like the idea of having a kit to have on hand at any point. I mean, I've had mine last for up to 6 months to a year, just on the shelf.
Oh, wow.
So that's, not I've been to Publix or Walmart or, any grocery stores sometimes where they don't have any oranges or apples. So I can't make one unless I had it on hand.
Gotcha. So how many varieties of scents do you have?
So I have 3 right now, and I am looking to expand that to more all year round scents. So the 3 that I have, the orange, cinnamon, apple harvest, and pumpkin spice latte, those are very fall scents.
Right.
And a lot of people buy them throughout the year because they miss the smell of fall. But I would really like to make more all year round scents where, lemon sage or, something with rosemary in it, or Christmassy scents too with pine and cranberries.
Wow, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so I have a lot of ideas. It's just a lot of trial and error. And right now with orders, I can't even experiment with any.
So now with your products, I've been into stores before where you see the little pouches and it's got the dehydrated fruits in them. What's the difference between going into the store and buying something that's sold in mass quantities hanging up in the store versus what you're doing?
Definitely. So with buying something directly from me, it's definitely supporting a small business and supporting a mom and a wife, and it makes me happy. It really is a great opportunity for me to talk to new people too. But you don't get that when you buy something in bigger quantities, when a mass producer. And my dad always asks me why I don't go, global with it or a big, huge business with it. And honestly, it would take away that happiness that I get from reaching out to new people and being able to communicate one-on-one with my customers, that I'd rather keep it small, honestly. I mean, it is harder to have a smaller business, but it is more fun to me.
Well, and I think as a small business, when you're producing something, it's a passion of yours, it's a love of yours, and so I know it may seem a little hokey to some people, but it's kind of made with love. And then when you become mass produced and it's just running through the machines, and you don't really have that personal touch, sometimes that passion isn't as strong for the individual. Now, if I go into a store and I buy one of those pre-made packages, is there a possibility that there are some chemicals in there that's keeping it older to make it last longer, because who knows how long it's going to be on the shelf? Is that something I would need to look for as well?
Definitely. So I haven't personally seen any simmer pot kits that I make on the shelves. I've seen they look very similar, but they're cocktail mixes. But mine are not edible. So definitely. So I don't know. I just really think that having that opportunity to make it in smaller batches is so important. And really, I take caution in what I put in my products. And like you said, if you go to the store and you buy something on the shelf, I'm not sure what kind of, not pesticides, but preservatives would be in it.
For sure. And you said something earlier, which, is really making me think, very seldom, and my children are all grown, of course. I did have one son who was ADHD. And so I had to look at the ingredients to make sure that sugar wasn't the number one ingredient in anything. But, as they grew older, I tend to not look at the ingredients any longer. And so, who knows what we really are putting in our body? Because I had someone tell me once before, if you put lotion on, that you don't think about that because you're not ingesting it, but just even, smelling something or rubbing something on you can also still get in your body.
Exactly. Your skin is your largest organ. And I mean, putting stuff on your body or having things in the air around you, like candles and artificial scents and all that stuff adds up. It really does. And I mean, I'm not perfect by any means. I still, I'm not going to go over to a friend's house and blow out their candle if they have it. But, that might be a learning opportunity for them as well if they're open to it. But I'm not pushy with it. I think that if you replace it one day, that's better than none. That's if you make one little change in your life, that's so much better than just staying close-minded about it. And I really try to help educate people as well on just all of it if they're interested.
I think that's great too. You said something I think that really should stand out is just make one change. You try one thing. So, if some of our listeners are hearing today and they say, well, now I'm kind of interested and I want to start looking at it, maybe getting a simmer pot is the first step, to just
Exactly.
see how your home smells and the differences in using that versus a candle. And listen, it's that time of year where, our Bath and Body Work friends are getting ready to sell all of their candles at this discounted price and everybody's going to run to the store and get them. But they need to consider picking up one of the simmer pots and starting there and just kind of taking a look at it and see how it works, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's how I started. I just started with the simmer pots and maybe switching to a midwife. And then I was looking at the ingredients, but it was very, very baby steps over the past couple of years that really led me to where I am today. But I did not do all the changes overnight.
At one time.
And I definitely don't recommend doing that, not only because your body kind of reacts differently, but also just because it's overwhelming. I don't think that anybody should try to overwhelm themselves with fear or anything like that, but there are benefits to giving up artificial fragrance. Now if I smell something that has artificial fragrance, I get a headache.
Oh, wow.
Because I've been away from it for so long that when I experience it, I really, really get that chemical reaction in my body. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I used to surround myself with this all the time. That's insane. So
wow.
yeah.
So how are you selling your products? You're not doing a mass sale. Are you going to community fairs? Is it just word of mouth? Are you on a Facebook group? How are you selling your products right now?
So last year I did a few vendor events, but this year I just decided not to do that with my son being, last year I was able to bring him because he was so small, but this year he is running around all over the place. But I opened an Etsy shop and I also sell locally to through Facebook groups. So there's a few Greenville mom groups that I'm a part of that I posted about last year and I posted about this year, and I've gotten a lot of people to reach out to me through Facebook over it. But nationally, Etsy is my biggest platform.
So you'll sell, what about local pickup? Can people come pick it up locally as well?
Yes, definitely. So I do local pickup. I like to meet people too if they're within the Greenville area, just for convenience for the customer. And I'm pretty flexible.
That's awesome. Well, we had a guest on probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she owned a local store. And one of the things that she said she did was she brought in local vendors. So she did candles, for instance, but she used a local candle maker. So instead of using national chain candles, she used them. So I think if we have any listeners on, would you be interested in that? If someone said, I'd love to have your products in my store, is that something you'd be interested in doing as well?
Of course, yes. I think small businesses should really work together and build each other up, especially women-owned businesses. We just really need to build each other up. And I've had a few companies reach out to me that are interested in that as well. And I am so excited about it. And I would love to expand to local businesses having my product in their store.
Oh, that would be great. So if you're listening and you own a store, you need to reach out to Diana. We're going to give her information here at the end. So how long has the business been in operation? You said you started it and kind of put it on pause and now you're back.
Yes, I started it last year in October. I was making stocking stuffers for my family, and I decided to maybe reach out to one of my local groups and be like, is anybody interested in this? Just kind of throwing it out there. And so many people were interested that I was kind of forced to make a business out of it, just for taxes and legal reasons. And really blew up from there. And then in about March of this past year, I stepped back. I was, the holidays are over, spring is here, and I just need to take a step back from this. But I was still fulfilling some Etsy orders that were coming in every once in a while. I didn't put anything on pause, but I just recently restarted basically. I posted again in one of my mom groups on Facebook, and then got more feedback, and more than last year even. And some people ordered for me last year, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, yes, I'll order again from you."
Ah.
And so, yeah, I think that this like this push is really going to help me get through the holidays, and hopefully with new products soon.
Well, I really think there's been a shift in our culture where more people are wanting to get back to the basics of life, so to speak. So I think your community is probably growing. I mean, I'm not in that community, so I don't really know. But I mean, I can tell you I have more friends who are getting chickens at home now because they don't want to buy the eggs at the stores. People who are actually buying property, because I'm a real estate agent as well. They're buying property and they're getting their own cattle. And, they're just everything that they're doing. It seems a lot of the culture shift is going back.
Exactly.
And I think people will probably going to look a little bit harder at what they're putting inside their body, on their body, through their senses. So I think your market's going to grow. I really do, if the trend continues in the path that it's going in.
Exactly. That's funny that you mentioned chickens, because we did end up getting 4 chickens. Because we really, I mean, we don't live on a very big piece of property. It's a quarter of an acre, and we're doing everything we can. We can garden there. We can have a few chickens at least. So I think the community is shifting to be more self-sufficient.
I agree.
And especially during COVID, when we saw the grocery stores, everything was off the shelf, people started panicking with it. And really, I think the fear pushed people into really trying to be more self-sufficient. I mean, the gardening community grew so much in 2020 because people were like, well, I can't go out, let me just grow something. And I know so many gardeners that are really, really talented gardeners now because of that. So there is just this huge community, and like you said, it's growing and growing and growing.
Well, and if you go to the grocery store, anything all natural, I did read up a little bit on this. You have to be really careful, because just because it says it's all natural, there only a portion of it has to be all natural. So a lot of my friends, their walkway is lined with pots, and those pots are garden items. So they have tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever as you walk into their home, instead of having little bushes on the side. They're doing the container gardens, I guess you would say.
That's amazing.
So there's just a lot of people who I think are getting back to the natural. And if we're concerned about what we put in our body, I think your product kind of takes you to that next step. Okay, let's look at what we're eating, but now let's start looking at what we're cleaning with, because when you're cleaning, your hands are touching that, right?
Exactly.
So we need to be looking at all of that stuff as well. So talk to our listeners. One of the reasons why I bring our Small Businesses Zone, obviously, is to promote yourself, but I also want you to encourage and inspire and provide resources for our other small business listeners that may be hearing our show today. So what was a big struggle for you to get started as a woman entrepreneur?
Really, the lack of resources that I found in starting a business. I had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I did it right. And I mean, registering as an LLC and making a business bank account, all of the really logistics behind having a business, I had to find out all on my own. There was not very many resources locally to me, or that I could find online, that really step by step, walked me through exactly what I need to do. It was very confusing, and hopefully I did it right, and and hopefully I figured it out. But I really think that should be more of a priority for people, especially now that so many people are trying to do small businesses. I think that it really needs to be a step-by-step clear what you need to do to have this small business, because then if you know that, it makes it so much easier. A
Right.
lot of people are so intimidated by those first couple of steps that they just let that hold them back. And it shouldn't. It really shouldn't.
Yeah, the first business that I opened, I went to the internet and just started Googling. And I don't know about you, and that's one of the reasons to kind of plug Get Local a little bit. That's what we do is we work with small businesses to advise them and guide them and kind of encourage them and move them along we give them those step-by-step instructions, because a lot of times when you go on the internet and you read it, my husband always says, well, I'm not a lawyer. I can't understand legalese. Thank goodness for me, I was a paralegal for a couple of years, so it doesn't really intimidate me. But for someone who's never really been in the business, I can see what a real struggle that is for them, And then there's always this fear of the IRS. The IRS is going to come after me if I do it wrong, right? They're going to shut my business down, take my family, my house. I mean, you're really afraid. So, I think reaching out and getting that additional support is definitely important for someone new. So how did you overcome all of those? I mean, obviously you're in business.
Yes,
So
I just did it. I ripped the Band-Aid off.
good
I
for
was like,
you.
let me pull on my big girl pants and do it. And that is the best decision that I made, is to just do it without fear. Really,
Yeah.
I wasn't letting the fear hold me back. And really, it was, like I said, I was kind of bombarded with responses that I didn't think that I was going to get. So that kind of pushed me out of the fear zone and into oh, I have to figure something out. And I need to figure this out within the next few months, because this is actually becoming something.
Yeah.
So
That's always fun when you think it's just going to be a little hobby, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I've got to create a whole business. This is really taking off. I mean, what a blessing, right? I mean, how
right,
amazing is that? Because it
exactly.
doesn't happen. Sometimes a lot of people want to start a business and then it just doesn't go anywhere because there's not really a need for it. But apparently you're in the right field right now.
Yeah.
So tell me a challenge in the 2 years that you've been doing it. What is a challenge that you had that you didn't think you were going to overcome it, but you did?
Yes. So I had some local competition that
Mm-hmm.
I was actually really afraid of. I was, just so intimidated by it.
Mm,
I have never really had that ever, because I haven't had a small business, or I didn't really have that competition growing up. So I kind of panicked. I
mm,
was like, oh my goodness, what do I need to do? And it really put me down for a little bit.
oh,
I was worried that, oh, this person's business is going to take off more than me. And part of me is like, well, that's good because they have a small business and I want them
right.
to succeed as well. But I just ended up doing something different. I was like, I'm going to continue doing the simmer pots, but I'm going to stand out
Good for
in my
you.
own way, and it worked. So
Yay.
yes.
Well, that's fantastic. So that shows our listening audience that when challenges arise, just stop for a moment and pause. Don't quit and figure out a way to work around it, right?
Exactly. Quitting was not an option for me. My little competitive side came out, but I had to pause and think and really think about what I was going to do next.
Yeah. So, Dinah, if somebody's listening to us today, I mean, you're only 2 years in, so it's not like you've been around 20 or 30 years, right? But, I always say to be a leader, you just have to be one step ahead of someone else. So, if one of
Mhm.
our listeners today is saying, it's not working, I'm not getting to where I think I should be, and I'm ready to just quit, what would you
Mhm.
say?
Don't quit. Take a step back, pause. If you need to take a break, if you need to take a half year break, do it. I did it. I did that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've only been in business for 2 years.
Right.
So I mean, that's what I needed to do. And I think that anybody struggling, just sometimes you just need to take a break. You need to pause and you need to think about what you can do differently to make it either better for yourself or better for your audience.
Yes, for sure. Don't quit. Don't quit. It's so
Exactly.
easy to eat. Quitting is
It's
easy.
so easy to quit. It really is.
Sticking with it is hard. That's
But
the
then you'll
hard
be
part.
so proud of yourself when you did stick with it and it all worked out in the end. You really you, like I am so proud that I did it again this year.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't start this again, but I'm so glad that I did.
And now you're sold out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you're so sometimes taking a break isn't a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
but for you in your situation, it wasn't. It sounds like
Exactly.
it really propelled you
Mm-hmm.
when you came back. So
Mm-hmm.
probably you were refreshed, you got more knowledge and wisdom, and your people missed you who had been buying. Your customers missed you, so now they're like probably buying twofold.
Exactly. Yes. I've had so many bulk orders lately, and it's just, and like 20 or more. And I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it really,
Well, I want to have you back when you've got 20 different products that you're selling. You've expanded for the year round. But tell our listeners, how can they contact you? I heard you say Etsy, so tell us a little bit about what your Etsy channel is, what your website is, how they can reach out to you if they want to buy your products today.
yes. So I am on Etsy as the Hamilton Household, and my email address is thehamiltonhousehold.business@gmail.com. That is a good way to reach out to me if you mention that you heard from the Get Local podcast. I'll give you a discount, I promise. And I have a website as well. It's thehamiltonhousehold.com. And those are the best ways to reach out. Honestly, I'm available, and I'm just so excited about all of this.
Well, I'm very proud of you for coming back, not just giving up and stopping. And I'm excited that you came on the show today to talk a little bit about not only your business, but some of the challenges that you faced and yet overcame to encourage our listeners. And I want everybody to shop the Hamilton Household. So make sure that you go on there and do that. I want to thank 864 Sound for hosting our podcast today. I always like to conclude with giving you guys a couple of things that Brandon does here. He is the owner, and he is not just a podcaster, recorder, but he does original music production, sound design, voiceovers, podcasting, audio repair, mixing and mastering, and live sound. Brandon is amazing, and his studio is fantastic. The work that he does is just amazing. You guys need to reach out to him if you can use him for any of those services. I want to invite you to check out the Get Local website. It's getlocalconnect.com. We also have a business owner only community, and we have coaches that can help you, just like what Diana was talking about. We can help move you along the way. And then we also do corporate training. So please check us out. Thank you so much for listening to us. I cannot wait to bring you another local gem. Please shop Diana, reach out to her and take advantage of these amazing products that she has to offer and learn a little bit about, what'd you call it? The crunchy
community.
The crunchy community. So check them out. I've never heard of that. I'm going to check them out today. Diana, thank you for coming.
Thank you so
for
much.
joining us. Until next time, adios. Bye-bye.